Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for December 15th, 2008. Roll call, please.
Bernard Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Sheila Brockway.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
Martin Mannix. James Coffey.
Here. Resolution 08-373.
Resolved that the minutes of the December 1st and December 8th, 2008 meeting be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed
Have a
with.
motion.
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Those are the two resolutions that we had during the work session, as
Yes.
well as the...
Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. It's the portion of our meeting where we ask if anyone would like to make any public comment. They're invited, welcome to do so. Ask you to state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. And if not, we will move out of our regular meeting focus because this evening we do have a public hearing. And I would just ask our clerk to bring us into focus for the public hearing, please.
Public hearing is called to order at 6:05 p.m. prevailing time at the Town Hall, 151 Bank Road, Plattsburgh, New York, to hear all persons relative to the town board, whereas the town board believes it is in the best interest of the community and the residents of the town of Plattsburgh to provide adequate and safe personal wireless service to residents of the town of Plattsburgh and to provide, skipping around here, and the surrounding area for emergency and non-emergency use by the general public, and improving service is a public purpose that will be beneficial to ensure the best interests of the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the town of Plattsburgh and traveling public.
And this public hearing is concerning the use of one of the town's water tanks for lease purposes for Verizon. Mr. Comey is here. I don't see anyone who would like to make comment, but if you'd like to update the board on what we're doing, that would be great.
I guess this will work. Good evening. Thank you. I'm the town's consultant, as most of the people here realize. Verizon has requested to go on the water tank over on Bluff Point. A lease was put in place several months ago. We've gone through with your water department, with your planning organization, all of the points of the application as part of your code. I would simply suggest that, number one, Verizon does have a gap in service over there, and this will improve service in that area. Number two, there are 2 items. One is a removal bond that, if you grant the permit, should be made part of that or as a condition of that permit. Also, in your code, because this is on town property, there is a paragraph for indemnification of the town, and I would highly suggest you make that part of a condition of the permit. I'm here to answer any questions the board may have, or the public, or anyone else for that matter. But I would highly recommend that this be approved. It's number one, where your code says it should be, and number two, it will improve service in that general area.
This one, Dick, we've been working on for quite some time. I recall going out to the site, there were some issues of concern with location of some of the operating hardware that was up there that might need to be moved. Did all that get resolved?
That all got resolved. They are putting it where your water district person wants it to be. From the site visit, we went back and forth several times. Part of the delay was also an access issue, and that's also been taken care of and clarified to everybody's perfection, with your attorney helping the county and everyone else involved in that. So I think we're in good shape. This is going to be put where your water district individual wants it on the site.
these two items that you mentioned, Dick, the removal bond and indemnification, are they two items that Verizon has balked at? Or?
No, the bond they have no problem with.
Okay,
In the lease, there is an indemnification.
okay.
It's just different wording. They felt that this was redundant. I don't think it is. It's a little bit more in-depth wording, and I believe it is part of the wireless code, and so therefore I think it should be a condition of the permit.
Okay.
Okay? They just felt it was redundant. It's not exactly the same language. This is much more specific and a little more protective of the town. I don't know as it will ever come into being, but it's there, it's part of the code, and it is on town property.
Yeah, and I just add, there's nothing wrong with redundancy there.
Nope.
No, and that's the way I felt about it too.
More specific than ever.
So you may want to, the resolution should be subject to this language, would you say?
Yes, the
Okay.
subject to the language in the code and the removal bond that's been specified. It's a $25,000 removal bond. Both of those should be made a condition of the building permit.
Okay, you can perhaps give that to Amy afterwards.
Fine, no problem.
Okay.
Is this gonna kind of look like the thing over here on the water tower? And not like a pine tree?
This will
I'm reading about pine trees.
actually, this won't even look like the one over here. This will be flush mounted at the top, where there's also another set of antennas right below that. So the visibility of what's going on over there will be minimal, and it'll be painted the same as the water tank, so from 500 feet or so, you won't even know it's there.
Dick, you've been doing this a while, and you really represent the town very well with a lot of expertise and knowledge. How do you feel the nature of the antenna itself, the physical nature of it? Has that evolved so it's not as large, not as heavy, and is more effective as far as transmitting, or are we pretty much using the same models that we've done for years?
What they've done is, if the carrier, and many of them have both the cellular bandwidth as well as the higher level PCS bandwidth, they've gone to what they call a dual mode antenna. But as far as the size, shape, quantity, whatever, they haven't changed significantly. They don't appear they're going to in the near term. I did get a call from an individual today. AT&T is going through another upgrade because they've got another set of frequencies. So you're going to constantly, over time, see some small changes in the service to add other services, to go to different programs. But the law that you have in place takes care of that. It allows for a review. In fact, we'll probably be back here in the next 60 days or so, because one of the other carriers is got in an application to go on the water tank again at Hammond Lane, not up above. They're going to go right at the top, so they won't go any higher. But there is the last carrier to improve their service. Will be back here in front of the board shortly. So again, and yours have been going on the water tanks, which to my view is the best of all worlds, because the town is generating some revenue out of it, as well as improving the service.
So are there more carriers so we can put more up, get more?
Water tanks.
Actually, you'll have 4 service providers on the one on Hammond Lane. This is only the second one over at Bluff Point. I would anticipate over the next year or two, you may see the other 2 over at Bluff Point. You've got 1 or 2 other water tanks, I believe, in the town, and they're having to shrink the area that they cover, because as they get more customers and they get more service, the frequencies they've got don't allow them to go as far or cover as big an area. So I would see there's more coming. And your town code says whenever you can, utilize a town structure. So hopefully it will continue in that direction, and it's been quite beneficial for this community and has worked out very well for you folks.
Does the code also specify town property as well as town
Yes, sir.
structures?
It sure does.
Okay, because I know that the north, the west end, Cadyville end, is probably going to be another area that's going to be taken a look at very shortly for antennas. I know I believe we have a sewage plant out there, a small one. If there's enough property out there, that might be another idea.
Right.
I hate to see it, and the whole reason this came into being was to try to keep the proliferation of antennas from cropping up all over, to try to regulate them. And as long as we have some town property available, it benefits the districts, the town water and sewer districts, and it's a better fit than having somebody put it in on the private property.
I'm 100% in agreement with that. The code that you put in several years ago has worked very, very well
Yes,
for
it
this
has.
community, and there's no reason why it shouldn't continue in that direction.
Jerry, this
So
was,
do I have to put up another water tank over there here?
I don't, that's why I asked the question about the property. I think as long as we have, as long as we have property out there, Tom, and there's enough area on that property, that's another one of the primary locations for installation, is either on a structure or on the property.
we do
I
some
just wanted to
Franklin
clarify that.
paints.
Yeah.
Jerry, is this legislation, was this the result of, I've often heard you talk about the session at the, during the training in the Association of Towns in New York City?
Yes, it was. And I'm not taking credit for this, but I happen to be one of the board members in attendance. When Mr. Comey gave his talk, I believe it was 10 years ago.
It's got to be close to that.
It's got to be close to that. It was one of my first visits to New York City, and you know, that was on top of the list, you know, telecommunications coming in, that we should take advantage of the regulation of them so that they don't crop up everywhere.
And I'd have to say that from this community's perspective, as one of many, we're now the largest organization that does this in the country. We operate in 30 states now, probably have about 3% of all the municipalities in the country. But this was one of the early ones that we got started with, and everything that's come in is gone on your water tanks. And,
That's right.
that's been the right place. You haven't had the new towers. We did have one argument with one carrier a long time ago, but after a bit of a discussion, they walked away. They wanted to put something on the Northway, and it never went there. It was a tower they tried to put up, and it wasn't appropriate. They ended up, I think, on the mobile sign, that's, if I remember correctly, rather than a new tower, so that worked out well also.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Dick, I really appreciate his joining us this evening because his community is one that was hit by the ice storm last week, and we all know what that was like. I believe you're still without power.
It's much warmer up here than it is at home right now.
The car felt pretty good driving up, right?
It didn't feel bad at all.
But we do appreciate it. I'm sure you get a lot on your mind. And
Well,
it was good to have you here.
I think they're doing an excellent job. They brought in a lot of crews. Close to 250,000 homes lost power down there. It was very significant. I was there 21 years ago. They had a snowstorm in October. This is probably comparable to it. A lot of branches, a lot of trees, a lot of big power problems. And I just happened to be in a subdivision that lost about 20 homes. And we don't know when it's coming back, but when it does,
You'll be welcome.
yes, yeah.
In the meantime, you're going to visit up here, is that it?
Well, no, actually, I'm lucky. We have a daughter and son-in-law that live in the same community, and we're actually imposing upon them for a few days. So I think my wife's cooking dinner for them tonight, so things are working out okay. And you know, I skipped out of town to, you know, come up here to the meeting, but it worked out just fine, folks.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the information and certainly having you available if there were questions, because you know, this is an area of expertise, and many municipalities, of course, don't have that homegrown, and going up against some of the big utilities, we want to have the best knowledge base we can, so thank you.
Well, it's worked out very well, and thank you, sir.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
If there are no other questions, I'd take a motion to close this public hearing.
So
Mr. Renavat, would you second that, Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brafway. Yes. Gerard Renaud.
Yes.
Gregory Bassett.
Yes, we will stand closed at 6:19. Yeah, I know you worked with that particular one a little more than others, Jim. And maybe we'll let Jim review that per minute. It's going to have contingencies on it or conditions.
Yeah, it's pretty, I think it's pretty straightforward, but anyway.
Make sure we have the right language.
Okay, yep, no problems.
We'll go back to our regular agenda, Resolution 374.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims, 12B, in the amount of $923,795.13 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rendick?
Yes.
Leonard Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 375.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of November 2008.
So moved.
I don't have that.
I don't have any.
That's 375. My 375 is water wastewater.
374.
That was the next.
That was the abstract. That was just,
375 is, according to this.
374 is the abstract.
According to the agenda, and where I've got 375 was a water wastewater report.
375 is supervisor's financial
You
report.
just lost it.
We don't,
What was that?
I don't believe we even have that
We didn't even have
one this time. There were some issues with that. So can we just,
That's the wrong one.
she pulled that and maybe you didn't get the message.
Okay, so what was
There were some
374?
late changes. So the next one should be water wastewater report, and we'll make that 375.
That's gonna be an issue because I got that in there, right? Okay, resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Comfort of the Water Wastewater Department for November 2008.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, Mr. Wood, would you second that? Any discussion? Gonna roll right along tonight like a county.
Word up.
And I think, just to make the note, we had most of these resolutions last week in work sessions, so there's plenty of time to review and read and discuss them.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
are you going to go through the rest of the wireless later this evening? Because I didn't notice it on your agenda.
No,
Okay, you're not going to do that this evening?
no. What is it in particular?
Oh, you've got to go through the seeker and decide whether or not you're going to approve the permit.
We don't have that prepared.
Okay, that's fine, no problem.
We'll need to get that from you,
I just wanted to make sure.
okay? No, we don't have it. We just did the hearing tonight.
That's just fine.
But you're right, oftentimes if a hearing is as consequential as this one, we move forward. But we can do that next Monday if it's available.
That's fine, I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Is there any reason why you need my
No,
appearance at
you
that?
won't need to come back.
Fine, I'll make sure I get you
No,
the information.
Yep, that's.
Thank you very much. I just thought I'd ask.
Yep.
Drive
Drive
on the way
safe.
home.
Thank you very much,
Drive
folks.
safely.
Thank you.
If you have a snack before you leave, get it in the town of Plattsburgh.
I stopped beforehand in the town of Plattsburgh. Take care.
Drive safe.
And get gas here too.
We had a motion and a second on Resolution 375. Is there any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rendick?
Yes.
Leonard Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 376.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Einhoff, Codes Enforcement Officer for November of 2008.
For the motion,
So
so
moved.
moved.
Mr. Wood, would you second that, Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rendick?
Yes.
Leonard Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 377.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Melanie Dubay, Town Recreation and Youth Service Director for November of 2008.
Motion,
So moved.
Mr. Wood, would you second that, Ms. Brockway?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Where was the oil spill?
I'm not aware. Must have been a small one.
Yeah, it says switch.
The fuel oil spill, that was a micro switch, a float switch that had malfunctioned and didn't shut off the pump. And Art had reported they lost about 30 gallons of fuel oil and they had to replace it. And he also made the committee aware of the fact that if we were to go to the biofuels, is it biofuels or? Yeah, it's like a biofuel, like you would get in your car, only they make that for fuel oil also, that this micro switch would not work. So we have to be aware of that and be planning on that, which again was another indication to us that we should really think about switching over to natural gas. Would avoid any future spills, but it was a relatively small spill. Better to lose 30 gallons at $3 a gallon than at $5 a gallon.
Right. We did discuss the conversion to natural gas, and given budgets and everybody's trying to be very careful and really think through where we spend our money. If we are able to have closure on the negotiations with the Cernak partners, then I think we will be able to discuss that investment. And maybe something we do more towards spring to get a sense of how sales tax is going next year. Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway? Yes. Gerard Rendez?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 378.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from A. Duquette Town Clerk for November 2008.
Motion? Mrs. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood? Any discussion? One of the things we did mention, I think in discussion in the work session, but it might be worth noting publicly is, Amy, you brought to our attention that revenue was down with hunting licenses.
Yes.
And why did we think that might be?
Not really clear.
Well, as soon as I said that, I said I'm putting myself back in the classroom here, and that's old habits coming out. I was a little concerned about that for a number of reasons. We wouldn't expect to see less hunting going on in economic times. We'd expect to see people even more interested, just theoretically. But I think it was you, Amy, mentioned one of the things people might be doing as they go to get the guns and the ammo is they're going to Gander Mountain and other sports shops that they can get their license at the same time. So that in itself is not a huge thing, but I think as we grow and as things change, we want to anticipate that habits and funds may be massaged just a little bit. And as we try to interpret numbers, we don't always want to see, for example, in this case, oh my goodness, there's a loss, or you make an assumption people are hunting illegally. No, not at all, necessarily. Most probably, when Junior got his first license and went with Dad and Uncle Bob to get ammo, etc., they got their license at the store. So I'd be curious to know if their numbers are up.
Now, has the law changed also, Amy, as far as who commissioned them? Because it used to be you had to be a deputy of the town clerk's office. It was around 10 years ago or so, but
Yeah, but even way back then, you could buy them at Kmart.
you could buy them in Kmart. Okay, it's just if you wanted to sell them in other locations, it had to be sold through somebody who was deputized from the town clerk.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember some of the smaller mom and pop shops did seek the deputy, but then at the big boxes, they would just get it from the state. Of course, the state got the revenue that way.
Sure.
Any other discussion on the report? Again, we've had this conversation many times, but getting some of this very focused statistical data really allows us to be able to analyze what's going on and look at some trends. Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway? Yes. Gerard Rendez?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes, resolution 379.
Resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh does hereby schedule the organizational meeting for the year 2009 on Monday, January 5th, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. And it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to have notice of said meeting published in the Press Republic in accordance with town law.
A motion? Mrs. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Rendat, any discussion?
Yeah, I have a resolution that says 7 o'clock.
6:30 we agreed upon at the work session.
Okay, so the 7 o'clock one is,
Right. Might be just a little late some evenings, but 6:30 gives us a little more cushion to prepare. A roll call.
Thomas Wood?
yes.
Sheila Brockway? Yes. Gerard Rendez?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 380.
Resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to advance as needed from the drainage pipe account in the amount not to exceed a total of $5,000 to provide monies for machinery repairs for the remainder of the year due to necessary repair work to equipment for the upcoming winter season.
A motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
I assume that money's available in that particular account. to move.
Yes. Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 381.
Resolved to receive and place on file an application with fee for a license to conduct and operate Regal Cinemas located in Champlain Center North within the town of Plattsburgh. And it is further resolved that after inspection and a positive report by the code enforcement officer, that Regal Cinemas meets code requirements. And it be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue said license for the license period of January 1st, 2009 through December 31st of 2009.
Have a motion. Mrs. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
This one was the only thing we were waiting for was the check, right? Inspection's okay and everything for this.
Yes. I don't have a copy of the letter in my packet, but I believe we had that in the materials we had at the work
Yeah, I
session
have it.
from Mr. Emoff. You do, okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 382.
Resolved to receive and place on file an application with fee for a license to conduct and operate Cumberland 12 Cinemas located at 812 North Bull Lane, Route 9 in the town of Plattsburgh. And it is further resolved that after inspection and a positive report by the code enforcement officer that Cumberland 12 meets all town code requirements, and the supervisor will notify the town clerk and said license for the period of December 18, 2008 through December 31st of 2009, when it will be issued.
Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Wood.
Was that, we clarified that it could be for more than a year?
I believe so. I know I'm saying that a little hesitantly, but I believe so.
And the list of items on the second page are
Mhm.
things that are going to be finished before this actually?
Yes, they have to be. I spoke to the developer today. Mr. Emoff was out today. I was out last week. They are aggressively moving forward. The big thing is the seats. Seats may not be able to be installed in all 12 cinemas by Thursday, which is the invitational opening, and then open to the public on Friday the 19th. If that's the case, they'll have those doors locked as they, make progress and install the seats.
So in other words, some of the areas will be open for movies, and the others,
Oh, yes.
we would be waiting until they're inspected.
Right, and hopefully it's the developer's hope. Of course, he wants all 12 cinemas, filled with people enjoying the movies. That will be done by the weekend, but to be done by Thursday may be a challenge. They will arrive tomorrow. I think it's roughly 1,600 seats now, something in that neighborhood. But yes, they're very aware that each of these items are a checklist. They're being checked off. I know Department of Health was out there this afternoon, but the license won't be issued until we have confirmation that everything's in place.
So Mr. Onhoff will go out again and check,
He has been going out quite
so he'll
regularly.
be checking that
Well,
when they
yes,
finish.
he has to tell us, that everything is as it needs to be. The project knows that, and they don't want it otherwise either. They certainly don't want anyone going in there and have any safety issues that are left unattended.
And we already have the check for that.
Yes.
And the
We've had that.
landscaping and things like that are going to be completed.
Right, and that's fairly typical, that, the project will want to do the final top coat in the spring when the weather's a little better, get the shrubbery and the seeding done, hydro seeding done, at the appropriate time. There is a deposit that will be retained, of course, until all that's done also.
On the period of time for 1 year, would we want to go December 18th to December 18th? If it is an issue, I don't know that it is.
Typically, we're issued for a year period.
If they're issued for a year, why don't we go December 18th to December 18th?
I have no problem with giving them a 2-week. Basically,
Yeah,
what
we're
we're
all
looking at is
issued
we're
at the
giving
same
them
time.
2 weeks. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I think it's so
To clean up-
close.
To clean up some of the stuff and make it in line with, I know we only have one of the cinemas, it's not like cinemas have to go from January to December, but I think that it just cleans it up for Amy's office, and all we're giving away is 2 weeks. And I'd be willing to give the same thing if we have somebody else who wants to open up on December 18th of next year.
Okay.
December 19th.
I believe most recently the comment was that the county would get about $1 million in revenue. There's revenue in wastewater treatment to the city, sales tax to the town. Approximately 60 new jobs have been created. So and at a time when we just keep reading about jobs being lost. And as everyone, with the exception of Mr. Wood, we had a chance to tour Wilderness last Thursday. It's just really encouraging to see new jobs, skilled jobs, good paying jobs coming in, because otherwise it's a lot of gloomy news out there. So I agree, you know, it's not a big giveaway for what we're going to get. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brafway? Yes. George Renza?
Yes.
Larry Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 383.
Resolved that after the town attorney's review, the supervisor be authorized to sign the attached contract agreement between Elmore SPCA and the town of Plattsburgh to follow the provision of Article 7 of the Ag and Markets Law, and any rules and regulations pursuant thereto in relation to the seizure, holding, care, redemption, and disposition of seized dogs in the town of Plattsburgh.
Motion? Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Does this also cover the emergency agreement that we had, or is this just?
That's a side agreement.
That's a side agreement.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brafway?
Yes.
George Renza?
Yes.
Larry Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 384.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Justice Court has requested authorization for the renewal of the annual contract with Clinton County Sheriff's Department to provide court security services to Justice Court. Whereas these services are necessary due to the volume of cases handled within the court system. Now therefore is resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh, upon approval of the town attorney and insurance carrier, does hereby authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract for services as attached. It is further resolved that compensation is to be paid at an hourly rate of $25.96 and a time and a half rate of $38.94 to be made payable from the Justice Court budget 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
This is same as last year.
There's a very nominal increase. In fact, I was just looking for that. I had a sticky last Wednesday. Last year, the hourly rate was $24.87. This year is $25.96. And the time and a half rate last year was $37.31. This year is $38.94.
And it meets all the legal requirements of that.
Pardon me?
But it reads the same as the legal.
Yes, the language is unscathed. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brafway?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Larry Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 385.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated December 8, 2008 from Town Justices Pat Moden and Bizreski, recommending the reappointment of Pamela St. John and Pamela Esposito as full-time court clerks for the Town of Plattsburgh Town Justices for 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, would you like to second that, Mr.
Yes.
Renadette? Any discussion? I just remind, sometimes it comes up, last year we had a little discussion, the third court clerk is appointed by the town board, which is why he could not be nominated. Not that we don't want to bring it back. Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brafway?
Yes.
George Renadette?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes, as we talk about changing times, if you see there were either of our judges or any of our court clerks, ask them if the court's been busy. It's been extremely busy. Resolution 386.
Resolved that Jackie Blue, tax receiver, has submitted a letter to be reviewed and placed on file recommending the appointment of Judy LaForest as deputy tax receiver for the year 2009.
Have a motion? Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette? Any discussion?
This one needs to be changed to read in line with the one from the highway superintendent. It should read that he submitted a letter to be received and placed on file appointing Judy LaForest as deputy tax receiver for the year 2009. none of the other ones that are appointing say they recommend, they're appointing them. And
Actually, I think that is their appointment.
this is an appointment by a person that has a right to
The
make the
elected
appointment.
official, I think you're correct. So we will amend the resolution to read, second line, and place on file, appointing Judy LaForest. We will scratch recommending the end of. Thank you, Tom. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood. Sheila.
Yes, as amended.
Sheila Brafway.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes. Resolution 387.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated December 8, 2008 from Fred Levine, Highway Superintendent, appointing James Woods as Deputy Highway Superintendent for the year 2009.
Motion.
So moved.
Brafway, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brafway.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes. Resolution 388.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated December 11, 2008 from Town Clerk Amy Duquette appointing Ricky Collins as Deputy Town Clerk and Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics for the year of 2009.
Motion. Ms. Brockway, second. Mr. Renner. Any discussion?
One of these days, we're going to have a tie, you know,
All
everybody.
three.
Never be a tie as long as I'm listening.
Oh, I see.
Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes.
I forgot to ask him if he wanted to go. I should have asked him.
Resolution 389.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated December 11, 2008 from Ricky Collins, Deputy Town Clerk, requesting to be appointed marriage officer until December 31st of 2009. Therefore be resolved that the town board appoint Ricky Collins marriage officer until December 31st, 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood?
Did that read the letter dated December 11th, 2008 from,
Yes.
It is from Ricky.
So Ricky
okay, so that other one
requesting
was a mistake. Okay.
There's two letters,
Yeah,
there's two resolutions.
Right. The one from the work session needed to be removed, and this is the
This is correct.
revision you were
Right.
given before we came out.
Wants a lot more
Correct
work.
as read. Correct, pardon?
He just wants a lot more work.
I guess I'm curious, and many times we don't really realize, we've had, what some of our departments do. Ricky, about how many weddings do you do a year, a guesstimate?
As of right now, 39.
39, wow, and Amy, you do about
Pretty
another
close to the same.
39 or so. So, you know, we think about the clerks for so many different reasons, but they're also out there providing that service for the community. And I'm sure those are all Monday through Friday between 8 and 4, right?
No, a lot of them are on the weekend.
Sure they are. That's exactly what I'm saying. You get out on a Saturday, which is, you know, leave your family and go to a wedding service, and, you know,
We
as I
could
said,
offer a free hunting license. wouldn't we?
that might be dangerous to do for some couples.
Couldn't they do divorces too?
So-
It might make more money.
Exactly.
We're getting a lot more recommendations from the other judges in the areas that are sending people to us.
Well, you do a good job, you do an honorable job. I've been in there when people ask for, you know, very old records, death certificates and so on. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and I would venture many times people who are interested in the office may not even realize the number of things you do, or the idea that they have to get out Saturday afternoon and go attend a wedding for a while. So, you know, the department does a good job.
And we also have some judges doing some weddings too. right?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Tom, for pointing that out. I did forget that. I know Mrs. Rudgick, Ms. Rudgick, they're right out there. Yes. Yes. And that's one of the other sides. As town grows, et cetera, those needs become greater as well. You know, we think about that as we may have a department head come to us and say, I just have to have some more help. That becomes a byproduct of it. And unfortunately, when they do a good job, people really want to use the service, and they do a good job. Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes. Resolution 390.
Resolved to receive and place on file a letter dated December 11, 2008, from Town Clerk Amy Duquette appointing Bonnie Fenwick as Deputy Town Clerk and Sub-Registrar of Vital Statistics for the year 2009.
Have a motion? Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Jordan Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Dyson.
Yes. Resolution
Well,
391.
Is this a new one?
Yes, it is.
Because I didn't see that on the agenda.
It might not have been because that's part of why I'm dressed down Monday. I was busy at work to get us to this point. You have a copy of that? I gave you one.
Yes, I've got to find it now because I didn't realize this was on the agenda.
We'll give you time.
But, go ahead and read it.
Okay?
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has conducted an extensive review and study of the necessary computer software required for the operation and management of the town's various departments. Whereas the town retained an independent consultant to identify the most important software needs and available systems to best meet those needs. Whereas Christian Milan, managing consultant representing New York Computer Networks, has presented his extensive needs analysis and review of systems that would best meet the town's current and future needs. Whereas the consultant has made recommendation that Harris Computer Systems of Niagara Falls, New York, has the expertise and experience to provide for the town's software needs, as well as the level of training and support for the transition to the new graphical user interface software systems. Therefore, be it resolved that the supervisor be authorized to enter into an agreement with Harris Computer Systems as indicated by their purchase agreement effective 45 days from December 12, 2008, in the total amount of $75,000 plus travel and lodging not to exceed $3,500, inclusive of software operating systems, application software on-off-site support, and site training, hardware and professional services, plus approximately $5,000 for a new server that will be purchased by the town at a later date. And to be further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute any agreement upon review and approval of same by the town attorney.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
Yeah, I know you gave us the whole set of it, pamphlet and everything, at the last meeting, but we hadn't had a chance to talk about it because we hadn't had a chance to read it.
Okay.
I think at that point. So I have a few questions on the additional user licenses under the purchase agreement. It has at the top, it has the additional use licenses to separate Flexibil databases, town of Scholar Falls and town of Beacontown. Those costs being shared with those towns, since we're going to be purchasing them just specifically to handle those particular billings?
And we do that now, and that's something we've had extensive conversation about, and it began with the question you asked, Tom. Have we been passing on the cost of administering those accounts, billing for those accounts, and so on? It will be happening in the future. We've been discussing, multiple ways that might happen, but the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, because I notice also we're getting 2 additional licenses down further, essential receipts, and that's $1,700. Annual maintenance $350, so there's an annual maintenance cost as well. And then at the bottom it says ODVC driver for read-only access to Advantage DB. Now I'll have to say I don't know what all these things, those letters mean, but is this so that the other departments can check the figures of somebody else's department without being able to change them?
I believe
I
so.
believe that's
Yes.
That would
It's a
be-
read-only screen.
And that's what it's purposely for, so that
Yes.
They
But
can see
the
what's in their
department that's not
account.
generating it can still look at it, but not,
They can see what's in their account, but they can't change the numbers or.
okay.
One of the things that happened with the consultant was literally spent months. I would note the consulting fees as well as some of the software fees are covered by a shared municipal services grant that we were able to secure a year or two ago. But one of the things the consultant did is he spent an extensive amount of time talking with departments, primarily water sewer, where there is a lot of cash flow and billing, the budget office, where we've had, as everybody knows, issues with getting audits done on time, which is driven by the inability to produce documentation, to have forms that are expected to be available. There's been an ongoing issue with bills that might be sent out and might be adjusted from the water department that get collected by the tax receiver and eventually transferred into the budget officer and be placed in the appropriate areas in the ledger. And in that little process, with the magnitude, we're dealing over 10,000 accounts, there become mistakes. A lot of the errors are driven by pencil and paper kinds of transactions. If we don't have some sort of seamless ability, for example, I come in to pay my water bill, maybe it's only $20, but the tax receiver takes it, stamps it, and runs it through. She doesn't know if that's even the right amount or if that bill's been adjusted. She can't go to the billing screen. And the water department, they can't see what's been out, what's come in. There's just that total lack of ability to have some real-time monitoring. Let alone, and we tried this past year to get quarterly reports on where budgets were. Some of the budgets for departments certainly much larger than others, but department heads need to be running their department like a business. If they're doing that, they should be extremely interested in knowing where the money is, where it isn't, how it's flowing, are they on schedule, are they going to come up short or not, so we don't have surprises. It's just too easy to go back to the general fund or the board and say, well, I need more money to do. They should have their budgets and manage their budgets. So a lot of this will enable them to do that. It's significant upgrading. But what Christian Ballin brought to us and went out to seek recommendations from companies on was a package that defined our needs. You can go out and buy municipal software and accounting software and so on and so forth, but these were pieces that meet the needs of the town of Plattsburgh with the ability to actually write programs that aren't common. They may be unique to us because we want certain reports. I'm really getting into, I want to see graphs and charts. I want projections on the wall of where we are and where we're going, and I want to be able to compare that to what's happening over here. And we've got all the data, but the software is not able to manage it. It just doesn't make sense. So what this is more than replacing, but it's truly a customized system that ideally will make us run more effectively, more efficiently. It will reduce excess costs for audits that we constantly incur. It will actually put us on time with audits and then let us access the database so we can do something with it rather than just read it and file it and accept it and kiss it and forget about it.
As long as it's the case, how many departments have had input into this?
They all did. Some had a lot more than others because they don't need this kind of fiscal management, and what they need is some pretty basic operating systems.
And will each department be on the same system, or are we going to have dual systems here?
Well, tax receiver will still work with BAS. There are components of this that Shu will also use in Access, but because of the uniqueness of what she does, I don't see that going anywhere soon. But that's not where the bigger issues were. She needs to be able to get into and acknowledge how the money's flowing and her role in the collection process, and be able to have real screen time of what's
This is supposed to be a transparent thing so that each department can tell where their money's going and everything, because obviously it's collected by another department or goes back there, and the billing is generated in a different place. Will there be an ability to check then what the revenues are to correspond with the...
Ideally, as I understand it, you would have access PAT codes to allow you to also look at. I mean, I know none of you have ever worked with the KDS system. And I looked at it. I'm reasonably computer literate. That was one of the first things I started to get into, and it's all old DOS-based kinds of operations, and built upon codes and substrands. It's stuff I did, with kids 20 years ago. And I know it's not an old system, but it's not Windows-based. It's not point and
longer
click.
than 20 years ago.
And so yes, this is going to enable a lot of possibilities, some of which Some people will take advantage and others won't. For example, our dog control officer probably is not real interested in this. And we wouldn't, set him up to have accessibility to something he's not going to use.
But we're not going to end up with one department doing something, finance department doing something.
Where
else.
there needs to be, some seamless, constant overlap, no. With this, and again, we don't have a company rep here, but as I've listened into some of these and heard some of the presentations, one of the things we talked about was parallel systems for a while, because everybody's real anxious to out of the old in with the new, and suddenly, you're bound to have operational, glitches and tweaks. So there'll be a parallel universe. But that's why we also put in that at some point in the near future, the town, out of our technology budget, I hope, would be able to purchase in 2009 a server that is unique to this software. And we need to do a lot of off-site storage and management. Again, we have to recognize we are one of the bigger multi-million-dollar businesses in this town. We aren't running it like a business. We're running it like, the books under the mattress, and we enter the ledger.
And there's precautions in here so that the data is secure.
Yes, absolutely.
It's difficult to get it.
Impossible.
One of the big things, if I could just jump in for a second, Tom, one of the big things that bringing all the departments in, the budget office was very concerned that somebody might have access to the numbers and be able to change them inadvertently. There was no accusations flung, obviously, but that say water and sewer, for instance, while they were in the process of going in there and checking their budget amounts, they weren't able to hit a key and wipe out a screen or change amounts or something like that. There would be password protection so that the budget office would be the only ones who will actually be able to change amounts, deduct from funds, that type of thing. But it does give the ability for other departments, if they want to purchase a piece of equipment, to find out if the money is readily available without stopping, dropping everything, going into the budget office and stopping that office from doing what they're doing so they can find out. So I think that everybody's...
Should be much more efficient.
Yeah.
Everybody's concerns were addressed to Christian, and I think Christian did a fantastic job of trying to ensure that everybody's concerns, as well as everybody's requests, were addressed with this new software. It's got to have the price tag on it, but I think in the long run, we're going to see savings. I don't know if we'll see a 5-year payback or a 10-year payback, but if we see some time being saved in water and sewer because they don't have to spend as much time in overtime to do this thing, this kind of billing, then we're going to realize the payback of that much quicker.
I believe Dave said there's money there to offset some of this.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
And maybe a really simple analogy, Tom, for your concern, which is a good one. I can go home this evening and get an update on my son's grades at Saranac Central, but unfortunately for him, he can't go in and change them. It's a view.
That's too bad. That was the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
In a couple of cases, maybe.
A second question on page 2, they say that they're going to be transferring data, and they have KVS and they have some things listed under utility, building, and finance. Is that all that we need transferred? And can we transfer more if we needed to?
I understand your concern. I'm sure the answer to the second part of your question is yes, everything is transferable. And I also believe these are the key pieces of data that they focused on. The company was quite explicit about not, they wouldn't sell us the software if we decided, well, we don't need that much training. We'll do it with our IT person. They won't even sell it to us. This has to work, and they know it. Or they're in trouble. They're a very large company. And as you can see, they did do a reduction. We did negotiate with them.
Right.
Many times I'll get talking about something, and I hear counselors say, well, we should bring that before the whole council. And I say, we will, if it's appropriate. And I said, part of my job is to do a little filtering here and making sure when things get to your attention, they're ready for your attention. We aren't having you do all the work. And you can see we did do some negotiations. They already took $6,700 off the bill.
Yeah. It also says here too, a note, additional data not listed above must be manually loaded by the purchaser, so.
Yep, there's
Yeah,
some
right.
stuff we can
Stuff
just
that-
learn to transfer.
Yeah.
We're not going to pay them to do. They'll show us how.
Now,
But
the payment terms on page 4 says fees for the applications, there's the licensing fee, those all have to be paid immediately?
I haven't really reviewed that close enough, Tom. I know it's not all payable at one time. Some of this we can spread over the early months of 2009. And
That's
some,
something about the initial payment has to be 50% of the total?
yeah, some is required when we sign on. And that's also why I made a point in the resolution to note, we have, what was it, 45 days from December 12th. Because obviously things go up and go down and the cost of them delivering services, so, you know, if you operate within that window, that's the price. We have, as mentioned, some money in water sewer, we have some money in the grant. We even discussed, as you indicated, Tom, the municipalities that we're providing service for, and this is a need as well, really should share in the cost. Departments might need to share in certain ways. Water sewer department knows they're going to have a bill. They're a big part of this. So we're going to spread this out as best as we can to meet our needs.
And the travel and lodging, they'll be flying in from Niagara Falls?
We weren't sure what was going on, to be real honest with you. And in the beginning, they simply had plus travel and lodging. And again, part of the negotiations, we said, you have to cap that. We're not going to leave that wide open. So they can do
So
whatever they want.
Up to
They can do
$3,500.
whatever they want. They can spend all $3,500 in the first flight, first class out by Learjet. The rest is their problem. They have to be here.
Well, I don't think they're going to go the way of the auto companies.
They have a nice airport they can land at.
Yep.
Now, it appears that most of the language is, of course, in their favor. If this doesn't work, if there's something that doesn't come up to the standards of what they've told us, do we have any rights here?
Well, you could, I mean, if they don't meet standards and they agree to meet, then you have an action for breach of contract.
Okay. Now, what about on data conversion, et cetera, putting this other data on and everything? What about the capacity of this? Are we going to run into, as we continue to get this more data, we're going to run into say, hey, we got to buy more?
Now, partially relative to capacity, but more security is why we're going to purchase a server for operating this data. But it'll be a ghost server. Everything's going to be processed off-site. We'll complicated to explain. That's been thought through.
Okay. What about this number 8 on page 5? It says, if the person agrees to use standard forms, purchases not order forms from Harris, then they get charged something else. Now, what is that, regular paper, or what do we have to buy from them now?
I would be, I'm going to generalize that as they go through some of the process, they're not going to take more time than is, necessary to go through some of the transitions that we're going to have to comply with the format to get the data through, as well as some of this is billing equipment, and their hardware and software is going to run, it's going to need to input that information for billing on a form that is, the software is programmed to be able to do the ink lines and those
Right.
particular spaces.
I'm guessing if you want an additional column or an additional line item added to the standard form, they'll create that form for you, but it's going to be at a cost.
Mhm.
In other words, it'll be a standard type of form for billing or for receiving.
Oh, I
or
see.
for
That's the kind of
vouchers.
thing that we would
And you'll be
use.
able to put your own letterhead in, you'll be able to put in who the vendor is, but if you want to add an additional column for, I don't know,
Yeah.
a professional discount or something like that, instead of typing it in, then you're going to have them prepare the form. They won't give you the ability to alter their forms.
And this customization thing in number 7 above that, determine that all items are adequate except as noted in the customization section. I couldn't find that section. Customization section. Is that talking about this particular thing that we just mentioned?
It could be covered there, but it's also talking about designing software that doesn't universally exist, but it's unique because of the way we want to do business or forms that we want to be able to disaggregate data on.
Okay, so that's the things that we said we wanted.
That aren't
In particular.
right. And that's been part of the problem with the KDS system. They will do the very same, but I believe their bill is something like $5,000 for every form and report you want them to generate. So you tend not to use it, and that's part of where we run into a problem.
And we want to have our training on the weekdays, right? It's going to cost us $250 surcharge on Saturday.
That's not a bad thing, because our employees would probably charge us on a Saturday too, so.
Yes, that's one of the
We
things I was
do
worried
want
about.
to train on weekdays. That's the way things normally happen.
And then I notice, well, the meals in hotels and stuff like that, Saturday and Sunday holidays, I don't understand why it costs $100 per day versus $50 a day on a weekend. It's the same food as you eat during the week. You know,
It really doesn't matter, because in negotiations, we capped that. So again, they can go
Okay.
below their whole meal ticket in one.
And then
if they
page
want.
6, it says project manager. Is that Phil Carell?
No.
Who's the project manager here?
I'm not sure if it would be our IT person. I know Christian Bellin wants to stay involved, or the project manager will be defined by the company.
Okay, because it said that they're supposed to work closely with them
Mhm.
for the implementation, so I assume it has to be somebody from here
From
that's
the town,
going
right.
to be able to.
Right, but this is not a Mr. Corell item by any means.
Okay. Then the limitations of liability, Jim, is that
Which section are you talking about, Tom?
14, page 6? Is this a normal clause?
Yeah, what they don't want is, we don't have to accept it, and I haven't thoroughly reviewed it, but what they don't want is, they say purchaser agrees to inherit liability for damages regardless of the form of action, be limited to actual direct damages. Sometimes they'll say, well, gee, you didn't do this, and as a result of this, it cost you that. They're trying to limit, and we had a loss of goodwill, and that loss of goodwill is $500,000, and that's what they're trying to protect against.
But our loss of our data, or loss of our information, or billings, or whatever that's not.
Well, that's right, they said that, but they also said for damages of God's farm, to be limited to actual direct damages. That would, in my view, mean any direct damages that we can prove.
I think they'd also be concerned that we might say there's a loss of revenue and hunting licenses because we made the changeover in the software. Things happen at the same time in the universe, but that doesn't mean one acts on the other.
Well, I guess I'm thinking of it in a different sense. Thinking of it in the sense that something goes wrong with that system, we lose our.
We have
data or
backups.
Yeah, backup.
I mean, you got the same problem right now, acts of God, power failures. We
I
have
think that's
multiple
covered in the
backups.
first line, isn't it? That
Our
our
insurance
person's liability shall be limited to actual direct damages, and that would
But
be.
what
an
they
actual
don't
direct
want,
damage.
when you have consequential damages, you're saying A happened, but because A happened, then B, C, and D. And sometimes there's a legitimate reason for it, but companies say, look, for this type of deal for $75,000, I'm not going to expose myself to a $2 million lawsuit. You know, that they're saying, it's like selling somebody a product and they say as a result of that I injure myself and I'm damaged to the extent of $10 million, and companies just don't a lot of times go for that. I think we can live with this.
Okay. Well, I just read it over briefly. Just wanted to make sure.
No, but-
I didn't get a chance to go through all of the different computer systems, but I read some of them. It seems like they're.
We'll do that tonight, later on.
Yeah, right. That's my night. Yeah, right.
Any other
No, I thought the
questions?
purchase agreement was more important, though.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway. Yes. Gerard Rendick.
Yes.
Bert Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 392.
Whereas Fred Levine, Superintendent of Highways, has requested permission to advertise for sealed bids for the sale of the following surplus equipment as indicated. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the sale of said surplus equipment with a non-collusive bid certificate to be included with each bid. And it is further resolved that the highway superintendent reserves the right to accept or reject any bid that is too low. And be it resolved that said surplus equipment be available to be seen at the town hall during regular business hours beginning on Friday, December 19th. And it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to have the advertisement for sealed bids published in the official newspaper, the Press Republican, and the sealed bids returnable on or before Monday, December 29th at 11 a.m. prevailing time at the town hall, at which time they will be opened and read publicly aloud.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second. Ms. Brockway. I'm a little concerned as I look at this, how it came out with $1,000 for the sweeper and the $400 for the F-150. These items didn't go before. And I believe, and Mr. Levine's letter confirms it with me, that he did not want to have a minimum bid. So I think we need to remove that, but he does want to, for example, if someone said on the Ford F-150, I'll give you $1, then we can get $300 scrap for it. So we're not going to, you can't reject.
Well, the international sweeper isn't worth anything?
It hasn't been to anyone so far because they haven't bought it.
So are you saying don't put any minimums?
There should not be minimums, but the bid may be rejected by the superintendent.
The other
If we
thing,
knew- I'm sorry, if we knew that the Ford F-150 could draw $300 for scrap, shouldn't that be a reasonable minimum? And if somebody doesn't think that they're willing to spend at least $300, but we can get $300 scrap for it, then we'll sell it for scrap rather than give it away for $150.
I think that's his intention. I use that as an example, but I know there was also, they might let it be picked up and hauled away for $250 because it's going to take a little effort and money to get it to scrap. But I think what Mr. Levine was asking is that he reserve, and I trust his decision making, that he reserve the right to reject any bid if he feels it just isn't a good deal for the highway budget.
the only other thing I'd add, okay, I'm sorry, I was going to add about non-collusive bidding certificate, but Amy, I just got that right in there as usual, so that's perfect.
So are we taking those out?
Well, I would,
That's what his letter
his letter, just, list the items, no minimum please, and allow me to reject. I would support that and take the 1,000 and the 400 out. Do you have any problem amending it accordingly? And I will certainly remind him that, whatever scrap might be, our profit on the scrap, we would certainly not take less. And I do believe that's his intention.
Tom, did you agree to the amendment, taking the minimums out? I heard Sheila said she did. Just so I know what we're voting on. Okay.
We don't have to make another motion on that one.
No,
No.
I don't believe so.
No, we're just modifying it.
Everybody
Yeah. Everybody knows what's going on.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
George Renadek?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. I have no other resolutions, but I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the work history of a certain individual.
So moved?
Ms. Brockway, second on that.
Second.
Mr. Renadek, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
George Renadek?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. We'll go into executive session, and then we'll come out.
I don't know, I've never seen it until you use the second.